Hi, scientist, Mr. Miller again. Um, if you remember, we've been talking about a cross section of a leaf and what it looks like. In a little bit, I'm going to show you some actual microscope slides of what that looks like and a video of a stomata working. But remember, the whole process, the whole purpose of the leaf, one of the biggest jobs it has is to photosynthesize. That means harvest sunlight, use that energy to combine carbon dioxide and water. Carbon dioxide, CO2, comes from the air, the atmosphere. It enters the bottom of the leaf through a stomata, and then that gas gets into the cell. Water, H2O, comes from the soil through the roots. It's delivered to the leaf. So all those cells, those plant cells, are photosynthesizing, and with that sunlight's energy they produce. Now notice I have a plus here. This is just like a mathematical equation. It produces C6H12O6, which is glucose, and 6 molecules of oxygen. So it's a way of recycling um, carbon dioxide, which is poisonous to all life, and changing it, recycling it back into oxygen, and taking the carbon, mixing it with the water to make a sugar that we can burn later in a process called cellular respiration. And we'll talk about that later. Okay. Um, Here is a microscope slide. And if I took the surface of the leaf and I just chopped off that waxy layer and the outermost layer, this is what's directly underneath the surface of the leaf. And we can see all the finely packed cells. And inside the cell, we can see these round circular green things, which are the chloroplasts. And if you notice, all these cells are rich with chloroplasts because the light can penetrate several cells thickness of the leaf. So all of these finely packed cells are harvesting light and producing sugar. Now, we said that they produce so much that they have to get rid of the sugar, they have to get rid of the oxygen out of the cell because they're constantly making more. So as long as the sun's out, the plant is making sugar and oxygen. That oxygen is released to the underside of the leaf. So when the stomate opens, CO2 comes in and oxygen comes out. So plants are natural filters. They're filtering out CO2 out of the atmosphere and creating the oxygen that we need. One of the problems with Mars, they don't have plants. They can't recycle and they can't build up the atmosphere. So if we go to Mars, we're going to need to take oxygen with us or make oxygen somehow from things that are already on Mars. Okay. So here's the cell wall. Here's all of these are cells. These are the inside of the cell, and these are the chloroplasts that have the chlorophyll that harvest the sunlight and create the energy for the cell to make sugar by combining CO2 and water. Um, oh, and here is a video I'm going to ask you to watch, and it's already playing. I don't want it to play. I don't think I can stop it. But here is the bottom side of the leaf. This is that donut-shaped stomata. The center part is called the stoma. It's just a hole. And what happens when the plant has lots of water, these cells fill up with water. And if you notice these cells, they photosynthesize too. So all the little chloroplasts in there. And as they fill with water, they open up like this. And then when water becomes short or it gets dark and they're not using up the water is pulled out of the guard cells and they tend to collapse. Now here, we just saw this one collapse. And as it closes, now this would be a condition at night where I have no more opening and closing. And we actually do experiments where we look at these leaves and we can watch them open and close, and they're opening and closing all the time. So it's a natural process. These are the ports that allow for gases to go into all those inner spaces underneath the leaf so that they can be absorbed by all of those cells so that CO2 goes into the cell, oxygen comes out of the cell, oxygen goes out of the plant. Okay. The last thing won't let me out. So I guess I'll have to make one more video. All right, we'll see you.